During my performance review, my boss looked me in the eye and said, "You're completely expendable. We could replace you with anyone." I calmly replied, "Time will tell." My name is Atlas Kingwood. I'm 42 years old and I work as a cybersecurity specialist at Apex Cybernetics in Seattle, Washington. What started as a routine performance evaluation turned into something that would expose the biggest corporate scandal of my career. Not because I was looking for trouble, but because trouble had been hiding in plain sight for months. "Atlas, let's be direct," Vex Shadowfall said, leaning back in his leather chair. The CEO's corner office on the 32nd floor of Crimson Tower offered a panoramic view of Elliott Bay, but his attention was focused solely on destroying my confidence. "Your skills are outdated. Your methodologies are inefficient. Frankly, you're completely expendable. We could replace you with anyone fresh out of college for half your salary." I kept my expression neutral, hands folded in my lap. 16 years of building Apex Cybernetics security infrastructure, and this was how it was being dismissed. "I understand your perspective," I replied calmly. "Good, because we're implementing significant changes. Your department will be restructured under new leadership, someone who understands modern cybersecurity." "Time will tell," I said quietly. Vex's eyes narrowed slightly at my response, but he continued outlining the performance improvement plan that was clearly designed to push me toward resignation. After the meeting, I walked back to my security lab on the 20th floor, processing what had just happened. Luna Darkwood, Vex's assistant, passed me in the hallway. "I'm sorry about the meeting," she said quietly. "For what it's worth, everyone knows you built this place." I nodded without responding. Luna was young, ambitious, and smart enough to stay out of corporate politics, but her comment confirmed that word of my expendability was already spreading. That night, I sat in my home office in Emerald Heights, reviewing the encrypted files I'd been monitoring for the past 3 months. As head of cybersecurity, I had access to all network traffic, including communications that executives assumed were private. What I'd discovered would have shocked most people. For me, it just explained why Vex suddenly considered me a liability. Apex Cybernetics had been infiltrated, not by outside hackers, but by its own leadership. Vex had been selling proprietary security protocols to competitors, using a sophisticated network of shell companies to hide the transactions. The evidence was overwhelming. Encrypted emails detailing technology transfers, financial records showing payments from rival firms, even audio recordings of Vex discussing which security measures to deliberately weaken. I'd been building the case methodically, planning to present it to the board of directors. But Vex's sudden hostility suggested he suspected I was getting close to something. 3 days after my performance review, I called Zara Moonlight at Shadowhunt Investigations. We'd worked together years earlier on a corporate espionage case, and I trusted her discretion. "Atlas, heard you're having some workplace difficulties," she said when we met at a coffee shop downtown. "More than difficulties. I need background research on offshore financial networks, specifically ones connected to my CEO. Zara studied me carefully. "This sounds like more than a wrongful termination case." "It is. I have evidence of systematic technology theft, but I need to understand the full scope before I act." "Send me what you have. I'll see what I can uncover." 2 weeks later, Zara's report painted a picture even more damaging than I'd imagined. Vex's espionage network had been operating for over 2 years, selling Apex's proprietary security software to at least 6 competing firms. The total value of stolen technology exceeded $40 million. More troubling, the compromised security protocols had left Apex's clients vulnerable to cyber attacks. 3 major breaches in the past year, blamed on sophisticated external hackers, had actually resulted from deliberately weakened defenses. "Atlas, this isn't just corporate theft," Zara explained during our follow-up meeting. This is systematic sabotage that's put national security contracts at risk. Hit subscribe to find out who recruited me after they called me expendable. Nobody saw it coming. That's when I made the call that would change everything. Nova Starfire at the FBI's Cybercrime Division had been a colleague before she left private sector work for federal law enforcement. "Nova, I need to report systematic technology theft and possible espionage," I said when she answered. "Atlas, haven't heard from you in years. How serious are we talking? 40 million in stolen proprietary software, compromised national security contracts, and a CEO who's been orchestrating it all while blaming external threats. I'll be there tomorrow morning." The FBI's investigation moved quickly once they reviewed my evidence. Nova's team confirmed that Vex's network had indeed compromised multiple defense contracts, making this a matter of national security rather than simple corporate fraud. "We need you to continue working normally while we build the case," Nova explained during a secure meeting at their field office. "Can you maintain access to their systems without raising suspicion?" "Vex already considers me expendable. If anything, he'll be less suspicious of someone he thinks is incompetent." "Perfect cover. Keep documenting everything, but don't take any actions that might alert him." For the next month, I played the role of the expendable employee while secretly feeding intelligence to the FBI. Vex's arrogance worked in our favor. He became increasingly careless about covering his tracks, confident that his outdated cybersecurity chief posed no threat. The breakthrough came when I intercepted communications about a major sale scheduled for the following week. Vex was planning to transfer Apex's latest encryption algorithms to a firm with known ties to hostile foreign governments. "This is it," Nova said when I shared the intelligence. "We execute the operation tomorrow morning." The raid on Apex Cybernetics was swift and comprehensive. FBI agents arrived at Crimson Tower at 6 a.m., securing all executive offices before most employees had arrived for work. I was at my desk working normally when Nova's team appeared in the security department. "Mr. Kingwood, we need to ask you some questions about irregularities in your company's network security," she said loudly enough for other employees to hear. It was theater, designed to maintain my cover while the real investigation proceeded upstairs. By noon, Vex Shadowfall was in federal custody along with 3 other executives who'd been part of the espionage network. The evidence I'd gathered over months formed the backbone of charges that would eventually send them to federal prison. Luna Darkwood found me in the break room after the arrests were completed. "Atlas, everyone's saying you helped catch them. Is that true?" "I just did my job," I replied, "protecting the company's security infrastructure. From the CEO himself, from whoever threatened it." The aftermath moved quickly. Apex's board of directors, desperate to distance the company from the scandal, offered me Vex's former position as CEO. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, the expendable employee being asked to run the company. I declined. Instead, I accepted an offer from Dante Silverstone at Iron Shield Legal to serve as their chief technology officer while pursuing my own consulting firm. Why not take the CEO position? Ryder Nightfall, my younger brother, asked when I told him about the decision. "Because I learned something important about corporate loyalty. It only flows one direction until something goes wrong." 6 months later, I was running Quantum Defense Systems, my own cybersecurity firm with contracts from 3 Fortune 500 companies who wanted someone they could trust to actually protect their assets. Vex Shadowfall was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. The other conspirators received similar sentences, and Apex Cybernetics paid over 60 million in fines and restitution. More satisfying than the financial penalties was the industry recognition. I was invited to speak at the National Cybersecurity Conference about the case, and Quantum Defense Systems became the go-to firm for companies seeking independent security assessments. 1 year after my expendable performance review, I received an invitation to speak at Apex Cybernetics' annual security summit. They wanted me to discuss best practices for detecting internal threats. I accepted the speaking engagement, partly for closure, partly to see how the company had evolved. Standing on the stage where Vex had once bragged about his vision for the company's future, I addressed an audience that included many former colleagues. The biggest cybersecurity threats, I began, often come from people who abuse trust and exploit the very systems designed to protect organizations. After my presentation, Luna Darkwood approached me. She'd been promoted to Director of Communications and was thriving under the new leadership. Atlas, I wanted to thank you for what you did, not just exposing the corruption, but showing everyone that doing the right thing matters more than protecting your career. Sometimes doing the right thing is protecting your career, I replied, just not in the way people expect. Driving home through Seattle traffic, I thought about Vex's words during that performance review. You're completely expendable. We could replace you with anyone. He'd been wrong about everything, not just my capabilities, but his fundamental understanding of what made someone valuable in an organization. Skills could be replicated, but integrity and genuine commitment to protecting what mattered couldn't be bought or replaced. My phone buzzed with a text from Nova Starfire. New case incoming, major tech company suspected internal espionage, interested? I pulled over and typed back, send the details. Some people spend their careers trying to become indispensable. I'd learned something more important. Being the right person in the right place when it matters most is worth more than any performance review rating. The expendable employee had become the person companies called when they needed someone they could actually trust. It turned out that being underestimated by the wrong people was exactly the right qualification for the work that truly mattered. 2 years later, I was testifying before Congress about cybersecurity vulnerabilities in federal contracting when a reporter asked about my background. You were almost fired for being obsolete, and now you're advising the government on national security. How do you explain that transformation? I thought about Vex's confident dismissal, his certainty that I was worthless, his complete misunderstanding of what he was actually destroying. I didn't transform, I said. I just stopped letting other people define my value based on their limitations. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do to corrupt leadership is exactly what you're supposed to do. Your job with complete integrity. They mistake competence for compliance until it's too late to stop what they've set in motion. The expendable employee had become indispensable, not because I'd changed, but because I'd never compromised what made me valuable in the first place.